a little bit about Delphine's story. And we'll keep it as usual, as interactive as possible. Yeah, Delphine, bonsoir.
Good evening, everyone. Very happy
Huge
to
welcome.
recognize some names also here today.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
you
a pleasure.
do. You must recognize a couple of the people on the call. That's great.
Yeah, that's really nice to see.
Fantastic. Well, Delphine, will you give us a little bit of context, a little bit of background on Board Owl, on the journey? There's a lot of entrepreneurs on the call. I'm sure they're going to love to hear, how you guys came up with the concept and the idea. And guys, we're going to be keeping this as interactive as possible. So our team will be manning the chat. If anybody's got any direct questions, let's just pop it in, and we'll keep the conversation flowing.
Sounds good. With pleasure. Thanks, Mark, for the intro. Very happy to be here tonight with all of you on the call. So yeah, I would love to tell you a little bit more about the background and how we came with the idea of Board Owl. So actually, my two co-founders are in the executive search space. I'm myself in financial services and consulting. Well, I was, and then made a switch a few years ago. And they realized that a lot of individuals were coming to them because they were looking for board position and didn't really know where to find them. So I guess all of you have been in the same situation where at some point you want to do something different, maybe on the side of your career or after the corporate career or instead. And then the question is where to look for these positions, because unless you have someone from your network looking for a board member, it's very difficult to access them. And so there were a large pool of very qualified individuals who wanted to join boards. And at the same time, they met a lot of different smaller companies who were open to meet qualified individuals for their boards, but didn't really want to pay the high fee as an executive search firm would charge. Also didn't think of it. And so that's when we started discussing and thought it would be very interesting to make the board market more transparent and more efficient for all players. So we decided to start very small with a pilot version with people from our network, people who had companies and people who wanted to join boards. Made it free, made it accessible, had a very simple website to start with, and realized very quickly that the matching worked very well. So it was an opportunity, our first opportunity was an opportunity in Asia, actually. And we matched 3 board members. One was in Switzerland, one was in Asia, and another one was somewhere else in Europe. And people were extremely satisfied about it. So we said, okay, we do see it's working. We do see there's demand for it. Let's make it on a bigger scale. So this is when we decided, probably a few months later, to build the platform and to make it more professional and to create Board Owl. And since then, we've been not only developing the platform itself and the algorithm that is behind the matching, because all you don't see is usually happening behind the scene, right? What people see is that they register to the platform and suddenly they receive either an email saying they got a match, either an email saying they have matches to their opportunity. But actually in the background, we use technology to make this matching very efficient, in time efficient, but also very effective, because we only match the most suitable candidates to each opportunity. And then, yeah, we've been scaling Board Owl and then becoming more and more global. And that's why we are very happy of a partnership also with the VAB to access a global community of very qualified individuals with whom we can work on helping them into their board journey.
Fantastic, fantastic. And look, we've had a couple of success stories already, so we're super pleased. And just maybe give a sense then, Delphine, on, having played around on the system and seen the variety of roles from kind of startup to scale up to family business. You guys have a great mix of opportunities. Maybe talk through a little bit the client acquisition bit, the types of roles, a couple of examples, how you're seeing that evolve, where you're seeing kind of greater requests coming in, because I see that the board it's so dynamic. There's so much activity there. So maybe give a sense on that flow and a little bit your outlook into 2023, where you're seeing kind of board roles, what are typical requests, what are the strangest requests you're getting.
With
that would be
pleasure. With pleasure. So we started without having a specific focus in terms of size of company. And at the beginning, we just said, let's run any type of opportunities through the platform as we have members interested in all type of companies. And then we realized very quickly, actually, that we got a lot of interest from startups, scale-ups, and smaller SMEs. And simple reason behind this is that large companies, listed companies, they go through their executive search firms, right, to find board candidates. And while smaller companies, usually startup and scale up, have a technology focus, are open-minded, and are happy and understand the value of using a platform to find the right candidates. And then we checked also with our community and realized that they are the most excited into startup and scale-ups, because they believe that this is where they can really make a difference and have an impact in a company. Because of course, it's also very interesting to join a bigger company, but often the impact you can have is more limited, also depending on the style of management and the people behind it, right? So I would say that a large portion of our opportunities are into startup and scale-ups all over the world, with a focus currently into Europe and Asia, simply because this is where we started and this is where we come from. But we've seen now more recently also opportunities coming from the US. So that's a pleasure to see that we are expanding also our geographical reach. And then in terms of type of opportunities, so the younger companies are looking mainly for advisory board members rather than corporate board members. Also because I think they need more hand-holding at the beginning, or they need help on specific topics and not the very standardized one of a corporate board. So we have a large amount of advisory board position in all type of industry, all type of functional expertise required. So it's very, very varied. So today I was actually speaking with a new member, and he asked me the type of opportunities we had this week. So I had a quick look, and we had actually, I think, a few in fintech, one in gaming, one it was a shoe company, another one was a machinery agricultural firm. So you see, there's a variety of opportunity that I could have never imagined.
I love from gaming to tractors. That's
exactly. So we really do need all type of profiles on board now to be able to find the right matches.
Amazing. Hey, well, let's pull in John for a minute to maybe share his story, and then we'd love to go back, Delphine, into a little bit the AI, the data piece, and other elements of collaboration and themes. John, are you okay to come in and share your story?
How could I say no to you, Mark? Plus, you already DM'd me and asked me if I would, so I guess Anyway, listen, my experience, as some of you might know, it was that I had been serving on boards and advisory roles years ago. They just sort of came up. There was no process of searching for them. I didn't even know how you would search for them. Yep. They just sort of came my way. And I ended up really being on some larger positions, postings, which were at publicly traded companies. So my experience was at big companies. And then over the years, I've had some roles here and there with smaller and startups. But I started thinking again about getting into board and advisory roles right around the time VAB was being founded, which is why the timing was just right. And I ended up becoming an early VAB member. And also, when you were doing sort of a trial with Board Owl, I was sort of an early adopter there. So I got into Board Owl, a number of months ago. And I think that it worked out pretty well for me. I'm very happy with the post I got. This is a really interesting fintech for gaming company. They're literally creating like a stock exchange for in-game items. It's a fascinating business, and the guys that are running it are just really nice guys. I just enjoy working with them, which is probably the most important thing for me. And as Delphine said, this is an advisory role because these smaller companies need a lot more handholding. They need the help. And so as time has gone on, I've probably given them more time than I've really been compensated for, let's say. But
always the way.
But but they're nice guys, and I'm very happy to help them. And I've made some nice introductions, and I think I've given them a little bit of guidance. So
John,
it's worked out well.
I was going to ask John, maybe, and I had you down. I thought you were more in the farmer agricultural tractor space. So that was just where maybe I've coded you wrong completely in the system. But John, maybe just a little bit on the areas you feel you can really help these guys grow and take to that next stage. Where are you finding really, look, this was their pain point or their gap, and this is where I'm able to really kind of add value?
Well, as per usual with any of the roles that I've gotten into, people tend to come to me as the marketing guy. So I tend to hit most of those marketing areas. But as you build relationships, they tend to use me as a sounding board, which is what these guys have started to do. And really, it's a wide range of things, from my opinion on a new sales hire to how to manage their investor relations and their fundraising areas. And I would say probably anyone looking at advisory roles now knows that you're going to get roped into doing some area of fundraising, right? I mean, it's almost inescapable. So all of us had better learn how to be better at introducing funding and being able to at least shape a decent investor deck. So those kinds of things. But I'm helping with with their getting their branding in order, and basically helping them to make this transition to a more mature company. Yeah,
fabulous, John. Thanks so much for sharing. Delphine, a little bit on we talked a little bit on the evolution of Bordow, where you guys are now, a little bit that growth curve going into US, taking it more global. Mm-hmm. Maybe give us a sense on how you see kind of opportunity flow, either by sector, by size. I presume the sweet spot is still that kind of scale up organization, maybe more entrepreneurial. Is there a bit on family business? Maybe give us a sense on what other stuff you're kind of looking as you guys continue to grow and evolve.
With pleasure. So one important point I wanted to mention is that we do help younger startups, let's say, as well. But usually all those companies are backed either by an accelerator, incubator, or venture capital fund. So in the example of John, it's a startup that was backed, for example, by a partner, F10, which is one of the accelerator programs of the Swiss stock exchange. So this gives also a lot of credibility to the companies that come on our platform, because even though they are young, we know that due diligence has been made on that, and that they are accompanied also by professionals in their growth. And yeah, in the future, we want to continue working like this with of course partners that are allowing us to scale faster. So multipliers, let's say, and also by going to all the largest events around the world in terms of tech, startups, scale-ups, for all the communities that we find the most interesting. So for example, 2 weeks ago, I was at the Web Summit in Lisbon, a few months ago in Paris at Vivatech, and this is really how we attract also new companies to join. And very interestingly, we realized that while going to these events, that a lot of people are mentioning to us that they didn't know something like this exists, and they never came across another player in the industry. So I think in the US, there are a few people who do what we do, obviously, and in Europe as well. But in Europe, they're very local, right? So we're trying to give this global flavor, as the VAB is giving as well, right?
Yeah, no, I think what you guys do, like, you guys still have that personal touch as well. So there's still that like care.
Yeah,
it's not faceless. There is clearly the AI, the algorithm, but there is that sense of curation, not just aggregation, which I think is people feel, which is super important. I think there's a lot of kind of faceless job boards or job boards out there, and I think still the personality, that you have someone you can talk to about a particular role or that assignment, to help you prep, to help you pitch better, to help understand the comp. It's not all going to be there on the ad. So look, I think you guys do that incredibly well.
And this is actually maybe leading to one of you were asking also the challenges we had with Bordow. So that's a very important point that you make, and very interesting, is that we thought at the beginning that by doing a platform, a lot would be straightforward and using technology. But actually we realized that a lot of our members want this personal interaction. So even though a lot is clear, they want to speak with us, they want to get to know who's behind Boardal. They are reaching out when they have a match to get advice on how to get compensated, etc. And this is why we're also very happy to have the partnership with the VAB, because you are offering also a lot of this interaction with the members, community feeling, and so on. So I think it's great we can work together and provide this also through the VAB, because our idea was to be a little bit more digital. Obviously, we are there, we speak with our members, we know them, but a lot is done by technology.
No, fantastic, fantastic. There's a couple of questions coming in the chat, Delphine. So one is, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the technology, the algorithm, how it works. Maybe give a sense on. There's a few techie guys on the call, so maybe share a little bit on how that works out of business curiosity. How does that work? And maybe just some tips on when people are inputting themselves into the system. You know, a little bit of guidance, best practice on that would be great.
Yes, of course. So when individuals sign up to Boardal, they go through a short questionnaire where they have to allocate points to industries, functions, and geographical expertise, as well as personality. And I think this is where most of the people are having the challenge with Boardal, is to allocate this limited points, because we limit it to a certain amount, and a lot let us know that it's very tricky to have only 20 points. But it forces people to be very selective, right? Because we don't want people to put the maximum of points in every single category, and then the matching won't be relevant anymore. And then there's a section where they have to upload the CV and then write a very short elevator pitch about what they can bring in the boardroom. And basically, when a company signs up an opportunity, they will go through a similar questionnaire to upload what kind of profile they're looking for. And this is the information that allows us to match a candidate with a board opportunity. So we will use not only the points that have been put into the system, but also some keyword search in the CV, as well as in the elevator pitch. So very important when someone writes an elevator pitch to think also keywords, what would be relevant for a potential match.
John, there's a very angry Boardal member who also has the name John Rose, with a very strong gaming background, and I think sometimes it just got confused along the way somewhere. So, but no, that's fantastic, Delphine. And look, how in the matching, maybe give a sense when you do have like fantastic people like John, they come through. How does the matching kind of follow up and the next steps?
Yes. So for example, for John, someone will say, we're looking for a superstar in marketing. So these are the points that they're putting in the system. We run an algorithm who will tell us these are the members that fit the best to your board opportunity. We do the matching. Usually we match very selective amounts, so a maximum of 15 candidates per opportunity, because we know how frustrating it is when you apply to a position, for example, on LinkedIn, and you are 1 out of 1,000 and never hear back. So our idea is really to do a selective matching so that the company will reach out for an interview. And so if the candidate received the email saying they got matched and accepted the match, their profile would be visible to the company. And then the company will see a list of the profiles who have been matched and who accepted the match, and will be able to reach out to interview, or will be able also, in the worst case, to reject them directly should they not be interested in the profile.
Oh, fantastic. And give a sense then, Delphine, on what you're seeing in differences in requests for kind of startup board advisors versus scale up. So from earlier stage to more mature, what are you seeing in terms of skill sets or experiences that are being requested or resonate more with those kind of CEOs or leaders?
Yes, so we see that more mature companies, well, in terms of scale-up, especially scale-up that have been accompanied maybe by a venture capital fund or, let's say, funded very well and have some professional support, they know what they look for. So they have very precise requests. They know the skills they're missing in their teams. And so it's very easy to find them the right people. When you have a very early stage company, they're sometimes confused about the type of profile that they are looking for. So that's why we have to also educate a lot the companies. And for example, a lot of early stage companies in one specific industry tell us, yeah, I'm looking for board members in my industry. So this is where we jump in and we try to tell them, no, you should get a diverse board, different type of expertise, look at the skills gap that you're having within your team and try to fill it in with board members.
Fantastic. I think Philippe, are you able to jump on and share some experience as well?
Yeah, so hi Delphine.
Hi, nice to see you.
How are you? So I've had a really good experience. And I agree with you. The hardest thing is that point scale is really tough. But anyway, that being said, no, you gotta give us more points than 20 though.
Yes.
Really. Honestly, 30. Yeah. So give us 30, okay?
We will, promise.
All right.
Philip, I would have given you 30 out of 20 anyway. So
yeah, thank you so much. No, so I've been matched I think like 4 or 5 times at this point, and I've had a few really great conversations, and I'm in with very different stages, companies in very, very different stages. One that has progressed with a company out of Lithuania, very interesting conversation, interesting project. And then the one thing I guess I wanted to add was when you were, and I had reached out to you, Delphine, and you had really good advice on this, was to specify on your profile, kind of like what type of, you have the ability to specify what type of company you're into advising, because some of them are going to be really early stage startups, and others will be a little more advanced. But overall, I think the platform has been great, and you guys are very proactive with matching. Yeah, so I've had a good experience so far.
that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Philippe.
Sure.
Excellent.
Great. Yeah, I think you even got a match today, Philip.
Yeah, I did get a match today.
Surprise.
Yeah, I know.
Something going in.
Christmas gift early,
Yeah, that's a good one. You should look at it.
Great, thank you.
That is excellent. That's excellent. And we've got, I think, Louise, we have the call with, we're doing kind of a board bio session with Aguilar from the NASDAQ, who helped us all NASDAQ's boards on, I think, the 6th of December. Is that, Louise, is it the 6th of December?
6th of December. I'm going to put the link on the chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat so anybody should join, so you can really upload your best bio onto the Board Owl kind of platform.
Yeah, this is extremely important because
helps a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we see it for the matching. We have some candidates who put a bio of 10 pages where they just describe what they did. And then when they get a match, the company gets very confused with their profile, because usually they want to be fast, right? They want to review the candidates, and then they see a five pages text, and yeah, it's not very.
That was my CV, Delphine. I'm very sorry. I have a lot of stuff on it. I'll try
really?
to slim it down. Yeah. I haven't accomplished that much for 10 pages. That's for sure. That's for sure.
It's good. There's a session soon.
And maybe give a sense, Delphine, in what you're seeing, kind of compensation. We had a session last week with James Chung on kind of his kind of startup board, kind of equity piece to get an advisor. Maybe share a little bit what you're seeing across the board, if it's market specific or early stage to mature stage, what you're seeing in terms of comp, base comp, equity per meeting, a little bit on what you're kind of observing.
Yes. So actually, I was joining the session, which I found very interesting.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, it was great, and was very in line with what we're seeing with the startups we're having on the platform. So actually, compensation and remuneration is probably one of the biggest challenges in the discussion between candidates and companies. So we had the dilemma also of should we ask companies to mention exactly how they're going to compensate beforehand when they post the opportunities or not. In the end, we decided not to ask them for a precise answer, but to tell us how they are thinking of compensating, meaning cash, equity type compensation, not at all, because some non-profit, for example, can't compensate board members, and asking them a bit of a guidance so we can also match the right members to that. What we're seeing is that early stage company are of course more willing to give equity to advisors. And there we have a very good guide on our website about compensation and the type of the percentage of equity you should be asking depending on your level of involvement and the size and stage of the startup. So it can basically go from 0.6% to 1.5, for example. So this is really a very, very large range and really depends on the hours you're putting into the company. Yep. For well-funded companies, they will always want to pay cash or business introduction fees because, of course, they don't want to be giving away equity, and they do have the money to pay. Now, for those who are saying that they're not willing to pay, we are very reluctant, and we always give them the advice to pay their advisors something, because obviously there's no free lunch, and every hour of work should be compensated, even if it's just a small amount to show some recognition for the work.
For the time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, for the time.
Sorry, Delphine, go ahead.
No, you can go.
I was going to ask a little bit on contracting, or Louise, if you can post up the James Chung recording in the chat as well, so people can kind of have a look at that if anybody missed it. Delphine, on the contractual agreements, have you kind of seen, are you guys able to help when finally putting the advisor together with the,
Of course. So we do have also on our website some contract templates. So very simple one for advisory board position and one for corporate board position. And it's very important to have one in place. So sometimes early stage companies don't really think about formalizing the relationships, but this is something you all should be asking for at the end of the interview. And once it's been agreed that you're going to join the board, just to have on paper written, the expectations, the time commitment, the remuneration, because sometimes might be, for example, that you are not paid right away, but that you get paid after a while or after having achieved a certain amount of objectives. So we do recommend always having a contract in place. Also about, the structure of the board meetings, how often they are, if the people are allowed to ask you for ad hoc advice, because as we know, the involvement, and as John was mentioning it before, varies a lot between the companies. So some ask for quarterly board meetings and are very set and structured in the way they are running their advisory board, while others will ask for bi-weekly calls to get some support on business development, for example. So it needs to be very clear about what the company is expecting from the board members. And we actually had one situation where it was very tricky because actually it was a more mature company, and they posted a position online where they were mentioning they need someone with strategy and business development tips. And in the end, they were looking for a salesperson. So obviously, was difficult because we posted this, got great matches, people interested. Some people joined the board. And then the company founder called me and said, I'm not really happy about certain of my board members. I said, okay, but what are you expecting from them? And she told me, business development. And the poor people had no business development expertise. They had really strategy expertise. And there I told her, but did you tell them you were expecting them to bring clients to the company? And she said, no, but it was not really clear. So very important to have in-depth interviews, ask the questions, really understand what the founders are expecting from you, and put this on paper.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And maybe while we're talking about kind of success stories, Delphine, or when there's slight
Yeah.
miscommunication, look, it happens all the time for sure, but maybe give a sense on some of the placements that you're kind of most proud of, and maybe there's one or two kind of curveball or funny ones that happened as well.
Yes. So, well, today I had a call, for example, with someone for whom we just did the matching. So there were 19 match candidates. The opportunity had a really good success rate. So everyone we matched accepted the match, basically. And the lady emailed me saying she has an issue with the matching and she wants to speak with me on the phone. So of course I jump on a call. And actually her issue was that she wanted to hire the 19 people. So she did interview every single candidate and she told me, yeah, they are all so good. What is the maximum I can have on my board? So
19 is quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I told her to go for 19. I would recommend a maximum of 5, and so she needs to do some selection. But this is I was really happy, obviously, to hear
That's
something
a great
like
problem
this.
to have. Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's a great success. And then I would say the better success stories we have is those we did the matching we've done at the beginning, so 2 years ago. To know that today the people are still on the board of these companies. So, for example, there was one company in Europe where we helped them build their board. So we found them 3 advisory board members who are today still on the board. And I think this is a great sign of success, because the matching, yes, it's fantastic, and we're very happy when someone gets appointed. But then it's all the work is starting, right? And it's only after a couple of months or a year that you will see if it was really a fit and if it really helped the company grow faster.
And maybe if you could share a little bit, Delphine, I'm fascinated by, I love the partnership with accelerators like Swiss Stock Exchange accelerators. Is that going to be, as you guys go more global, is that going to be adopting a similar strategy in new markets, trying to find those accelerator schemes, investor communities, how to really help kind of build those relationships? There's that nice inflow of roles and opportunities.
Definitely. So, for example, with the partner F10 I was mentioning before, we're part of their acceleration program not only in Switzerland but also in Spain, in Asia, and now they're starting one in Greece as well. So we are really globally in their network and participating all over the world. Now we started also 2 new partnerships with accelerators in Portugal, because this is of course an innovation hub. Looking at one partnership in Israel. So growing fast all over the world, and that's really the idea. Then the second type of let's say multipliers we are using are venture capital funds, because of course they have recurring opportunities with great startups. So we're working very closely with the venture capital industry to do partnerships there and make sure that every time they're looking for an external board member, they go through Wardal as well.
Fantastic. And I think Wada just popped in the chat just regarding the Middle East, North Africa, any stories there so far, Delphine? Is that an area of growth, or how are you seeing it?
Yes, so we did have a few matching in Africa in general. In the MENA region in particular, we're getting more and more traction right now. So I'm just discussing now with an individual who would potentially be an ambassador for the region to develop it further. So hopefully it's gonna grow. We are not yet big there, but it's definitely the plan.
Delphine, maybe just to get a sense on, particularly out of Switzerland, where there's such a strong kind of family business history, what trends are you seeing in, family business going from Gen 3 to Gen 4? Is the board equipped to handle that transition or support that new gen coming in? Any trends you're seeing in the requests for what advisors, family businesses are now looking for, maybe going forward?
Yeah, so this is an extremely difficult segment to enter. I think it's somewhere where there are a lot of opportunities, because actually what we are seeing currently is that family business are very much behind in terms of boards, advisory or corporate boards. So usually you will see the family members or the friends of the family in the board. and not really diversified boards. So we try to enter slowly this segment, but it requires a lot of education on the topic. So
I had one recently where we had the family dentist was on the board as well. So
exactly, you see it, right? Now what well I'm doing it also for one of the family businesses we having in our family, where we're trying to do a next gen switch that you mentioned earlier, is that we decided to appoint a board observer from the next gen part of the family. And I think that's a great way for next generation to enter the family business. But we should definitely also have good external advisors. And probably it's more these younger, more dynamic minds who will be able to make that change. Yep. But yeah, it requires a lot of education.
I think definitely we had a case recently where the preference was for the board is currently, you know, old white men in their 60s, 70s, and Gen 3 to Gen 4 is completely different. And they wanted to bring in people who had come from a family business experience, but are currently Gen 4 in they've already done the transition and seen, you know, how the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that they're willing to share that experience. So and
you know, in terms of diversity as well for boards, so we have a big mission with Board Owl is to really promote diversity. And when we say diversity, everyone thinks of gender diversity, but actually it goes much further from that. So it's really important to explain company founders or chairman of the board that they should look not only at gender diversity, but also background diversity, racial diversity, age diversity. Because of course you will get different inputs from younger people who grew up with the new technology rather than people who have never used them, right? So if you want to get into topics like digitalization, or you see the trends, metaverse, and all these new trends, you need to take people who grew up with it. Yeah, skills diversity, definitely.
Nice
in
one,
the
Peter.
chat.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just a piece on what you're seeing within the private equity community, Delphine. What are typical requests you're getting in from PE-backed businesses? And are they coming more from the PE firm or still coming through the CEO of the business, or your observations there?
So when we work with PE, usually it comes from the PE firm itself. So they say, yeah, the CEO doesn't really realize they need help from this and this type of people. Yeah. And they put the opportunity in the system, and they basically force the CEO to have external board members. And these are usually very specific requests, because otherwise the PE would just give one of their partners as board member. So usually if they come to us, is that they're looking for someone very specific. For example, this machinery, agricultural machinery expertise was from a PE company.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Delphine, look, what are the, look, we've heard kind of really positive kind of stories from Philippe and John. You've given us a great sense on what you're kind of seeing out there. We still have a couple of minutes if anybody else has any more questions to pop in the chat. But otherwise, Delphine, what would you say kind of best guidance on kind of maximizing the system? You know, what would your kind of top tips be on utilizing and being aware of what's going on within Board Owl?
Yeah, so I think like all of you are doing today, and as the VAB mentions very oftenly, it's also about speaking with the community to get tips from other members and really reaching out. And then for Board Owl is also about being patient and knowing that as we are precise in the matching, it might take a bit more time until you get a match. But usually when you get a match, you have a good chance of at least speaking with the company and getting an opportunity to introduce yourself. And that if you are the right match and have the expectations aligned with the company, a good chance of getting the role as well. So yeah, now from Philip, we got the expectation that you get 5 matches within only a few weeks. but it might be that it takes a little bit more time.
More. Oh, yeah. Nice one, John.
So it might be that sometimes you should be a bit more patient, but also what I always recommend new members is to reach out to me or to someone from the team in case they didn't get a match within the first couple of months. Like this, we can together review their profiles. And everyone should know that obviously we're using technology, but as we are also a sort of startup only on the market since 3 years, obviously there are some human who are still looking what's happening in the background and who are there to make sure that your profile is suitable and will get matched. So yeah, so be assured that someone is taking care.
Fantastic. And we obviously have, Michaela's just popped in the chat, we obviously have a special kind of preferential best friend rate for any VAB members who want to join and be part of the Board Owl experience as well. Delphine, I was just going to ask on in a process, once you've been matched, the feedback loop, like is there a feedback loop after the conversation, or is it just still left between the client and the prospect? Or
yes, so basically how it works is that the company is supposed to update the status. So they're supposed to reject the candidates they're not interested in and update if they've hired someone. So we know what's happening, and we of course are in close contact with the companies that are on the platform. Now the problem is that sometimes it takes time because they received a match, they need to review it, speak about it internally, and we realized that this was one of our big challenges, is that sometimes individuals get frustrated because they don't hear back right away. So what I would just want to mention is that we are working also on a new platform for next year. So this is a big IT project, of course, where it will be also much easier to understand where you stand in the process and to get regular updates from the company on your process.
Delphine, this is the most like relaxed, patient bunch of people you'll ever meet. So look, no stress. They're super relaxed.
Yeah, that's good. But you know, as with any type of jobs, when you get a match or you apply for something, I fully understand that you want to hear back what's happening, right? And that's fair. So yeah, so that's how it is.
Fantastic. And maybe give a sense, Delphine, before we kind of close down the call, just on growth within Board Owl 2023, 2024. Share a little bit the kind of longer vision,
yes,
the growth curve.
So to give a bit of an idea in terms of successful matching, in the last year, we facilitated the appointment of more than 100 board members, which is a great amount, knowing that we started only 3 years ago. So our goal is definitely to make this number much higher for next year. So hopefully getting a large flow of new opportunities and finding the right matches to this. Also expanding our reach more globally with companies. So we are very strong in Europe, but we also want to be stronger in the US and in Asia. And in all the innovation hubs, right? Because when you target startup and scale up, this is where we want to be. And then we also want to get more mature companies, not only SMEs, but also very well backed scale ups. And so I think the success stories we had the last year also gave us some credibility in terms of the candidates, the quality of the candidates we have on the platform, and the type of match we're able to do.
I was going to say, from the other perspective, I think, is quite a few of the people on the call are also kind of owning, running, leading businesses. Maybe give a sense on the process from the other side. So if they have kind of needs for their boards, how that works from the company perspective.
Yeah, of course, with pleasure. So we're doing it in a very simple way for companies. So in terms of a business model, we have a small registration fee. And then we have a success fee that only kicks in after the appointment of one of our members. And it's very affordable. So for startups, meaning a company with less than 1 million in revenue or less than 1 million in funding, we only charge 500 euros for a successful match. So we made it very affordable and accessible, just also to make sure that smaller companies have a chance in finding great individuals. For scale-ups is 5,000 euros, so it's lot more expensive, but still way cheaper than if you go through an executive search firm.
Absolutely.
And then there was also a question in the chat about the geographical limitations
from Sasha,
Sasha. So actually, especially after COVID, people realize that you can do everything online, right? So we actually get a lot of requests from companies to find board members who are in different geographies compared to where they are based, because they need the market reach or the experience of another market. And they really realize that the most important part are the skills and the background, and not where the person is located, because the board meetings you can travel or you can do digitally.
I heard a nice comment in from Yu Ying, who just had to jump off, but she said she's had 3 matches already, looking forward to seeing more. So it looks fabulous.
Great.
Fabulous collaboration going on there. That's fantastic. Delphine, that's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Great to see so many engaged people on the call. And look, it's been a fabulous partnership for our membership, and really enjoying the collaboration and cooperation. And look, thanks so much for everything. And look, we're here to keep supporting and keeping the good vibes and the energy kind of alive, and really enjoying the partnership with you guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark, and the whole VAB team for this opportunity. And to all of you who joined tonight, please feel free to reach out directly. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So very happy to speak with all of you individually and to catch up with those I already spoke with.
I think a few people are calling you immediately, Delphine. Don't take, I think from those 2 who I see, don't take their call. Don't take that. That's trouble. That's trouble. Don't take that.
Okay, thanks for the tip.
Fantastic, Delphine. Guys, great to see everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks, Michaela.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Louise. Thanks,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
Thanks, Faye. Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
Thanks, Brady.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Take care.
Thank
Salut.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Bye. Thank